All right, so we are getting ready now to install our switch location. We're going to use a standard box that we've pulled the nails out. This is just a nail-on box called a 118N. 18 stands for 18 cubic inches. That's how much volume is on the room is on the inside of the box for our wires. So we're going to go ahead and stick our wiring into the box based on its location and what it does, what its job is. So closest to the stud over here is our switch leg, and then is our power. And in this case, we are able to just stick it in the wall and pull it right into the hole. We've got a fire block right above us and a stud just to the side of us there, and we had enough room that we didn't have to cut those tabs off. Sometimes you have to cut those little nail tabs off to have it fit right, but what we do is we go ahead and I put my screws down in the corners like this so that it doesn't interfere with the devices that are going to go in there, especially if you're putting in a GFI or something that's a big fat device. Then if you put the screw into the side of the box, the screw will hit the device and keep it from going in like it should. The reason that I like to use these nail-on boxes, even for cutting in into drywall as a retrofit, is because the cut-in boxes are quite a bit smaller because of the way that they're built. They have all their flanges built into the outside that keep that hold it from going through the drywall, and so it reduces the inside of the box and makes it harder to install devices. As a matter of fact, in some of the metal boxes, even a metal Tiger box, you cannot get a GFI or some of the other devices actually to fit in there, and so I don't like to use it. If I would have hit wood on any one of those, I would have only used 3, but because I didn't hit wood on those and it's just supported by the drywall, I am going to put 4 screws in there. And what's going to happen is those screws are just keeping it from coming forward, and then once I install the device, this metal flange from the device is going to keep it from pushing in, and so it'll be super secure. So I'm going to go ahead and do my makeup really quick on this and hook my timer up, and then we will hook it into the system and we'll be going forward. So what I do is make a little niche on my Romex, perfect on the top and the bottom so that they match. If you do one here and one down here on the bottom, they don't match, and it makes it hard to strip it. But as long as you do them close to each other, they're easy to pull. You only cut it deep enough to score the sheathing on the outside. You don't actually cut deep enough to damage the insulation on the conductors below. And so we are going to go ahead and we'll be using wire nuts on all of our connections here. If I was going to not be connecting my device, if it didn't have a ground on it, then I would be putting a crimp sleeve on my grounds, but because I'm going to be using a wire nut, I don't have to do that this time. So again, what I did is I cut my switch leg at an angle so I'd know which one it was, and we're going to hook this baby up. I use tan wire nuts on these. They supply a red wire nut or a yellow wire nut with these things, but I don't like the device supplied wire nuts. They're crappy. They don't use the springs a lot. They're just a plastic device, and so you always hook your grounds up first, neutrals second, switch legs third, and hots last. And that's just the way that you'll take them apart as well. So your power always comes off first, and then your neutrals, and then lastly your grounds when you're disconnecting systems or setting them up that way. So we're good. We're testing them. We're pulling to make sure our wires are nice and secure and tight, and that's the way it's going to look. We're going to push it so we don't have much sheathing back in there. You'll see that there's just very little sheathing up in the top, and we're going to tuck our wires back. We have to be careful because we can't push too hard against this. This box is just being supported by those screws in the drywall there. and we don't want to push it back into the wall. So push it back there so we got lots of nice room for our device to sit in there very carefully. You can see that I've pushed all my wires back in there. There's lots of room for the device to fit. And make sure that it goes in just like it should. We're just going to use drywall screws on the device. When you're using modern plates, they accommodate for a larger head on the screw that you're mounting your device with. Now, drop this darn drill, and I ruined the gears in it. Now, if we were installing this together with another device, a switch or a timer in the box here, we'd have to cut some of these ears off. And what that does is it derates the capacity of this controller. So if it's rated at 1500 watts now, it would be rated at 1200 watts if we cut off this side. If we cut both sides off, it would be rated even less. And then when you gang it with other devices, dimmers for example, it makes those, you have to add in that as well, because those generate heat, and this generates heat, and it makes it so that it cannot dissipate the heat that it needs to work properly. So there you go. That is how you install a device as a retrofit.